Hey guys, what's up? So this is the guide for loadouts on the multiplayer. I'll later do a specific guide for the co-op loadouts. So let's go. I mean, what you want to keep in mind when you're making a loadout is there's two like key points that I would say you should have in mind for every kind of loadout that you're planning on doing. You should have things that are complementary in the sense that they work together, you know, and you want to have things that you use very often in the match. I mean, for example, let's just say an Eldorado. I mean, I'm gonna use that maybe twice at best in a match, you know. It's different than when I'm using maybe a marking, you know what I mean? I'm gonna be using this at almost every second. So that's what you want to have in mind. How is this? I mean, how is this synergetic with the rest of your loadout? And how is this? I mean, and how often are you going to be using this that you're putting in your loadout? So you should have those two questions in mind every time you're going to make a loadout. Now, I mean, this loadout, I mean, just a perfect example. The type, because I mean you want to have weapons that they are complementary. So like I said again, the first key to making a loadout. So I mean the type 95, it's a really good, I mean, mid-range for sure, long range not so much, but I mean that mid-range is the sweet spot. I mean, you're pretty much gonna own everybody with the mid-range with this weapon. Now, so I have that as my primary weapon. Now that only covers me at, I mean, that only makes me strong at a mid-range. So I want to put other things that are gonna make me strong on the other ranges, so I can dominate, you know, in every situation, and I can win the gunfights. Now I have the Krivosky, cause I mean it's pretty much a long gun, you know, it's like a Metler pretty much, so even better because the recoil is a lot easier to handle. So that's covering my long range. I mean, if you watch my gameplays, you'll see every time I'm going long range, I'm going to be using this pistol. Now, the reason, I mean, this is a ranked loadout. I mean, maybe like a public match loadout. We want to be such a, you know, heavy, you know, so serious, because this is like a really competitive, balls to the wall, serious loadout. I mean, if you watch like this is more like a pub loadout. It's not really, I mean, it's close, but it's not really the same. Now this is like really taken seriously. Now I already explained this too. I mean, always remember that you want to have maybe a, I don't know, if you're having like a submachine gun like the this one right here, the MP34. This is like a close range, you know, so you want to again have something like this pistol to cover long range. Now maybe you have, I mean the Metler, or maybe you have a sniper. Then you want to have a pistol that's really good at covering that close range where the sniper can do well in, you know. Now again, let me go back. So the reason why I have the ARX here is for two reasons. I mean, first, because it's a power weapon, so I can pop it out if I'm in a tight situation, and it can pretty much guarantee me the win, even against bad odds. But it also covers me like in really close range, because I mean, for example, the Type 95 has a pretty bad blind fire. So it's not something I'm really going to be using, you know, really close range. Whereas this weapon is a whole different story. I can really use this at close range. And it has like a crazy fire rate, so I mean the Type 95 also doesn't have a high fire rate. So you see how everything is kind of complementing each other. And again, watch my gameplays. I mean, I put the gameplays there for a reason. They're not just for entertainment. It's also so you can actually see what I'm teaching you being done in practice. So you can not only learn theoretically speaking, but also, you know, see how it works in practice, so you can apply it to your game as well. Now, so again, this is for mid-range, long range, close range. I'm pretty much dominating on every range. I'm gonna be winning gunfights as long as I'm hitting my shots. I'm in a position to win the gunfight. That's what I mean. You want to put yourself in a position to win. Now, let me maybe give you a bad example. I mean, like for example, using maybe a P90 and I don't know, like, I mean, even if it was like the edges, I mean, this is a really bad combination. I mean, pretty much mid-range from long range, you're screwed. You're gonna lose all your gunfights. That's pretty much, unless the other guy is using as bad of a loadout as you are. But you know what I mean? I mean, mid-range, long range, you're dead with this loadout. So remember to make things complementary. You know, there needs to be some sort of synergy in your loadout. Now back to the thing I said about using the things very often. I mean, as far as gear goes, I mean, a smoke bomb is like a really strategic sort of gear, so it's only really very useful if you're using, maybe you're coordinating with your team, you have mics or something, you want to push forward, you know what I mean? Then it can be really good, but I mean, in a match like a public match, maybe you're solo, you know, you're not really going to use this, so I mean, it's kind of useless in that sense. The mines are maybe only, but I mean, I don't like these things because I mean, they serve a purpose, don't get me wrong, but they're extremely specific, you know. So I mean, you're not going to be using them very often because they are so specific to a certain situation. I rather use something that I can, you know, be using very often, and it is not just sitting there taking points out of my loadout. Now, I explained about the smoke bomb. I mean, it's good if you kind of know what you're doing with it, and it's serving you a purpose along with your team. But I mean, overall, you're either not going to be using it a lot, or it's not going to be effective. Now, the mines, I mean, the best way I can see them is maybe if you're like, you want to cover a flank or something. You don't want to have a player watching the flank, so you can just put a mine. I mean, that can work, but again, it's extremely specific. Outside that purpose, it's useless. Now, C4, I mean, I would say totally, I mean, it can work like a trap. Maybe you're playing command or something. As a trap, sure, is a great tool, but just like the mines. But I mean, besides that, again, it's just extremely specific. It's gonna be useless. It's too slow to use as a grenade, so especially after the patch. So I would just stay away from it, unless you want to play this sort of trap game, like I said before. Now it boils down to these two: either the revive pack or a grenade. Now it really just depends on what role you're trying to fill. Are you trying to be offensive or more supportive? So that's pretty much what's going to decide which one to use. But both are I mean, equally very useful, and you're gonna be using both very often. So I would just say depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you're trying to be supportive or really offensive. But I would just pretty much you see my loadouts, I pretty much only use these two. Now, as far as sidekicks go, I mean, same thing goes with the gear explanation. I mean, everything is good and works very well on a very specific sort of thing. But just like the grenade and the meds pack, the ones that are not only going to be used more often, but are going to be the most effective and give the most return out of the points is really just the savior or the hunter. I mean, the brute, you can maybe, you know, maybe you want to, like, let's say commander, you want to grab the area, capture the area. I mean, it's really good. You can just throw him out and he's gonna push everyone out, or at the very least he's just going to distract everyone while you're shooting them. So it pretty much almost, it's like a better El Dorado, so to speak. Pretty much guarantees you the siege area, but I mean, what's really the value in that, you know? You're gonna use that maybe once or twice in a match. I don't know. I don't think it's that useful. I mean, it is useful, but you're not gonna use very often, you know? Again, you want to get things that you're using very often. Now the sniper is pretty much the same thing. I mean, you can use him kind of like the hunter, but it just dies way too fast. The brute as well just dies way too fast. It's not worth it. I like the grenade and the match pack. It's pretty much, again, are you trying to be offensive or trying to be more support? Because I mean, the savior is not only helping you in a support sense, but is also helping your team. So he's kind of a, you know, do it all kind of guy. So it's really good, and he's really cheap as well, only 2 points. Now the hunter, I mean, I already made the guide on it, on how you can use him very offensively. So I mean, I think I use him on some of my recent gameplay. I'll be posting that soon for sure. But I mean, watch the guide again if you haven't. I don't know if you don't know which guide I'm talking about. Just search the channel. I mean, the guide on the hunter. Everything is explained there. Now, so again, my recommendation are just like the grenade and the match pack. These two, and you pretty much pick based on what you're trying to accomplish. Now, mysticals, you'll see that I pretty much don't use mysticals like ever. I used to, but I don't anymore. I mean, I just realized they're not really that effective. They don't make that huge of a difference, so I'd rather put my points on something else, like the RX, for example. That's gonna make a huge difference, especially on ranks when I'm actually trying to win. Now, or just perform very well for that matter. Now, the sort of more useless ones here are the El Dorado and the Paths of Intra. They, I mean, like, again, really specific, but overall very useless. It's not gonna make you win the match just because you use that once. Only again, in a very extremely specific situation, which is not what happens most of the time. So you want something that's like as overall as possible. You can use it very often. Now, Chintamani is good if you're trying to play very supportive. Staff is also very support. It's a cheaper way to play support. And the offensive ones are the Gym, the Indra, and the Shoot of Asgard. This is good if you're getting surrounded, maybe you're getting rushed down. Maybe just like when the guy is behind cover and you throw a grenade, you can instead use this. I mean, he's pretty much dead. If he's sit on cover and you use this, there's no way he's gonna live. But so yeah, you can use this maybe if there's more than one player. Maybe you would just want to make an escape. Maybe you want to use it as a grenade, just like I explained. I mean, it's good, but I mean, it's too expensive. I think it should be 3 points. I mean, not really. It would be very overpowered, but I don't know. I mean, I would use it if it was cheaper. That's my point. So, I mean, the Gym is really good. I only see for 2 reasons. Maybe if you want to, just balls to the wall, go face to face, really rush down. I mean, it can be helpful in keeping you alive. I mean, also you can pretty much escape out of tight situations very easily because you're moving so fast. Or maybe if you're just trying to flank them and you're just trying to get behind them as fast as possible, the Gym is a very good option for that. Now, and the Shoot of Asgard is really sort of works a bit like the RX. It's like that sort of clutch thing you use. I mean, I think that I personally think that's the best way to use it. I mean, maybe if that situation when you see that you're gonna get surrounded, there's like more than one guy coming, because you can use the shield while jumping, you can like activating while jumping, while rolling, and also while behind cover. So that makes it so you can kind of use it like a surprise element. So let's just say you're behind cover trying to regenerate your health, and there's like 3 guys rushing you. I mean, you're absolutely sure you're gonna die. Then you can while behind cover, you start to activate the shield, and then you pop out with the shield already activated, and that's gonna be a huge surprise for the other guys that are rushing you, and you're actually gonna have the advantage now because you have a lot more health. More likely that you're gonna be able to take all those 3 out and stay alive. Because keep in mind, when you use the shield, I mean, your health goes back to full health. Even if you were regenerating your health by the time you use it, I mean, as soon as it activates, you're gonna be at full health. So that's really useful in those clutch situations. And that's how I use it. I mean, Chintamani, just like the revive pack, just keep in mind, I see a lot of people just like wasting it. I mean, use it as it was supposed to be used. I mean, it's like, again, it's like a clutch thing, you know. If you're absolutely sure that you gotta revive the dude, your teammate, on that exact second, then that's the time when you use the Chintamani. I see guys where, you know, you could totally, you're safe to go there and like with the triangle reviving, but they just totally waste the Chintamani on it. So, you know, don't do that. Just save it for the really where it's really necessary, the clutch situations, and you'll see that those clutch situations are not very often. You pretty much only buy this like 3 times, 2 times max during a match, which saves you a lot of money actually. Now, I mean, let's go into boosters. Like, I can't really go in detail about all of them, but I'll just go through the more competitive one. I mean, I kind of classify them as, there's like these sort of kind of novelty boosters, so to speak. They're just more like a fun thing rather than an effective thing. I don't know. Like this, for example. I mean, I really don't think this is really useful, to be honest, but many people like to use it. I mean, if you had the revive pack, what's the use of having this, you know? Again, like I said about the key points, you want to use things that are complementary. So you're pretty much, you know, you're very good, dominant on all situations, not just one. Now, I mean, I don't think this is useful at all. That's just my opinion. A lot of people like to use it. I mean, if you like to use it, sure. I'm not even gonna go on there. Now, this is very useful, the marking. Of course, you're getting points, you're helping the team, you're giving the enemy's location. This is gold. Now, there's also the combat marking and the damage on mark. Now, I think you should, I mean, the best thing you can do is get used to pressing the L3 every time you're aiming, because I mean, this is cheaper. This is 2 points, and the damage, you have to like at least waste 3 points just to be able to mark them. I mean, the first level of it only marks with explosives, so I mean, it's kind of useless too. And this, for the same price, you can pretty much mark them infinitely. So if you can get used to, put your mind to, I mean, you're gonna have to actually practice, because I mean, it's not gonna happen overnight. But you have to put this on and keep, during the whole match, you gotta keep in your mind to like, I gotta press the button every time my aim goes through someone. Even if you're shooting them, you have to be pressing this. So I mean, it makes a huge difference. You'll see in my gameplays, you'll see that I do that. You can pretty much, if you're like to the point where this is almost like unconsciously, you're just pressing it, you're not even thinking about it, that's where you want to get, by the way. So you can pretty much mark the guy, like, I mean, at least using level 1, because the timing only lasts so much. You can like mark the dude up to 3 times, maybe 2 times before he goes down, which means you're getting like 30 points, 30 money, dollars, on top of the down, on top of the KO. So that's like, you know, a lot of money just for pressing a button. I mean, I like to use, you see that I always use the level 1. I mean, that is on purpose because I actually want the time to be less, because that allows me to mark the same guy multiple times, you know, so I'm getting more money out of it while still getting the same effect of showing him on the to my team. I'm giving away his position. So I mean, it's actually very effective if you're trying to kill him, to actually use the higher levels. But I mean, I just think, you know, the money makes more difference than the amount of kills I actually get, because he's shining all over the place. So that's just my personal opinion. Okay, now that covers the marking. I mean, this is good. I mean, it gives you like, I think, $10 max, even if you're at this level. I don't think it's that worth it. I mean, unless you're like dying more than you're staying alive, so maybe that can be more useful than the actual marking booster. But I mean, it's really good to actually have this name tag show up. That actually is really good. But again, you see that it doesn't really outbalance the rest of the booster. The other boosters are a lot more effective, and I'm gonna be using them a lot more often during the match than actually sort of, you know, the level 2 combat marking. That's why it's not there. I'm not saying it's not good, but that's the reason why it's not there, because these other ones I'm gonna be using a lot more often. These 4 right here are pretty much the ultimate competitive boosters. If you want to like play like the best, this is what the best players use. These 4 boosters. Okay, now let's go back. So I covered the marking. This is kind of useless too. I mean, why would you even use that? I mean, this is useless. I mean, useless. I mean, I can't really go in detail about everything, but I mean, stealth, especially on ranked, stealth is, I mean, you're gonna need at least level 2, so they cannot mark you. I mean, the reason why is because, you know, sometimes he can give you your position away, and his teammate is going to kill you in a situation where you could actually live if his teammate didn't know you were there. You know what I mean? So this actually helps a lot, and it also denies them a lot of points from the marking. So there's 2 benefits to that. You're staying alive, and you're also denying them a lot of points by using this. I mean, scavenger, I never really run out of ammo, especially if you're using the savior. Again, you want to use complementary things. Using a scavenger with I mean, with the savior as well is just, you know, you're playing stupid. Don't do that. That's not complementary at all. You're just pretty much wasting points. You already have the ammo. Now, I mean, even if it's level 1, I mean, I never really ran out of ammo. So again, you want to put things that actually make a difference and that you're gonna be using very often. This is useless. This is useless. This is good, but again, it's not. You're not gonna use it as often as the other ones. I mean, I can't. I wish I could, but I can't really go in details. I mean, maybe if you guys want to see in details every single booster, then just maybe ask in the comments or something. I'll make a video on a guide on it. But let's just go to the useful one. So useless. This is, I mean, I guess I'm not gonna say useless. I'm gonna say not needed. So not needed, not needed, not needed, not needed, not needed, not needed. None of this. Okay, gunslinger is maybe a popular one. I don't think it's needed as well. I mean, usage weapons pretty fast as it is. I mean, not needed, not needed. Not needed. I see this a lot. This is not needed as well. I mean, especially if you're playing against good players, they don't really need to see that the guy is down to know that he's down if he's really good, so it's kind of useless. But if you're playing with noobs, I guess it would make a difference to have this on. Again, this is a ranked loadout, so I'm just going with the best there is here. Now, the weapon expert, you see my gameplays, I jump and shoot a lot. I mean, it's self-explanatory. I don't think I have to explain why this perk is useful. You can also be ready to shoot at all times while you're falling, jumping, whatever. Level 2 is good. I mean, I just don't use it because I don't have enough points left, but I would definitely, I mean, if I have 1 point left, that's where I would go, to this level 2 here. I mean, I just don't have the points for it, but it's actually good. If you can go all the way, level 2. And the marking display, harden is, I mean, this makes a huge especially on long range gunfights, this makes a huge difference. The longer the range, the more effective this will be. I mean, you'll see the huge difference. I mean, just try it out. I mean, play a match, play like, I don't know, maybe 3 matches, I mean, without harden at all, and then play 3 matches with harden level 2. You notice that you're gonna win a lot more gunfights. I mean, it just works. That's how it is. So use it, by all means use it. It makes a huge difference on your gunfights. And the stuff I explained. So that's pretty much, these are pretty much the 4 like best players for boosters. You always want to be using those if you're really serious about the game. And I already explained this, already explained the weapons. So I mean, that's pretty much it. Now this is like a more sort of not so serious, you know, class. I'll just go a few explanations just so you kind of, maybe you get the point and the reason why. Now you see here I'm using the, this is because you're probably gonna try to maybe try out my classes. So I already explained you how my classes go. So you want to cover long range, mid range, and short range as best as possible. So you want to have weapons that are good for those, for each, right? Now this class, I mean, if you want to maybe try this class out, I only recommend that you try 2 weapons here, which is because here you see I don't have the RX, so I'm trying to cover 3 ranges with 2 weapons. Well, that's a little bit more tricky, so you gotta if you're trying to go like this, only 2 weapons, you gotta make a choice where the at least one of them is kind of, you know, goes both ways, which in this case is the incest. Is good, is not the best, but it's good close range. I mean, you can, it has a really good blind fire. If you haven't noticed, it has a really good blind fire. So that's the reason why I'm using that and not maybe the M4 or something, because it has a good fire rate, pretty fast fire rate for assault rifle, and it has a really good blind fire. So it kind of gets the same effect as the ARX would. You see what I mean? When they're really close range where I actually need to blind fire, I can count on this weapon to do the job. Same thing goes for this weapon right here, which I'll just go to say that this is pretty much the best SMG, like overall, because I mean the blind fire is the best of all the SMGs. This is the best blind fire. I mean, I'm talking about base blind fire where there's no attachment, no mods in it. Best blind fire. So I mean, this is a good weapon because you can headshot pretty easily because the recoil is like straight up. But I mean, the clip is not so big, and the blind fire is not so great. I mean, I'm talking again base. I'm talking all base. I'm not saying with mods. You see that I also don't use any mods. I don't think that make, yeah, that's a good point actually. I don't think mods really make a big difference at all. I mean, you're gonna gain a lot more from using like this, a hardened, than you're gonna be gaining by using maybe a clip size on your weapon. You know what I mean? One is gonna help you a lot more and more often in the match. I mean, because you gotta be thinking, like, if you're maybe putting a clip, how many kills are you really getting just because of that clip during the match? I mean, if you really maybe go back and watch your entire match, you notice that pretty much during those, like, I don't know, 15-20 minutes, you only really got maybe 3 kills. Where having this mod made the difference, guarantee you the kill. You know, 3 kills. Is it really worth it? You know, like three loadout points for 3 kills? I don't think so. I think this is gonna help you a lot more and more often. So I mean, mods again, recoil, I mean, it's good mod, but you can get good with the weapon, you know. You can manually adjust the recoil. We don't really need this, although it's good. Straight speed, I don't think it's fast enough, to be honest. I don't think it's gonna make that huge of a difference. I mean, hardened, again, is gonna help you a lot more. Silencer, I guess, if you're trying to play really stealth, it's a good option, but I just don't feel this game is really meant to be played that way, to be honest. Because, I mean, if you're playing like a rank match and you're trying to flank all the time, unless the guys are really bad, I mean, it's just not gonna work. They're gonna be waiting for you, so at that point, I mean, the silencer is not really gonna make a difference. This game is just not made for stealth, so I really don't. You see that I don't use a silencer at all. Blind fire, again, I rather just pick a weapon that have a really good base blind fire than having to use the mod. So, I mean, again, because the reason why I picked the insets is because it kind of goes both ways. I can use it at that very close range, and it's also a really good mid-range weapon. And again, my long range here. So if you want to, again, keep in mind, it doesn't have to be the same weapons that I'm using, you know. I mean, go with whatever works for you. Just follow the principle, which is to cover all the ranges as best as possible. And also, obviously, during the match, keep in mind the ranges that you're engaging in. If you absolutely know you're engaging your next engagement is going to be at a longer range, then you just switch to the weapon before you get there, you know, or if you prepare for it. Now, for example, you could just maybe use this, which is actually kind of a good mid-range weapon, and maybe have 2 instead of having the insides. You have like a really close, really close, like maybe a P90 or something, I don't know, really close weapon, and maybe you have that to cover mid-range, you know what I mean? So you can use whatever you want. Just keep in mind, I mean, how is it serving you, and how often are you going to be using it? Because, like, keep in mind also, if you're using power weapons, the money that you're going to have to spend. I mean, you can like get an RPG, but you're really going to use it one time, so is it really worth it? Instead of buying this, where you can use it, you can maybe get 3-4 kills with 1 clip of this for every buy that you do. So keep those things in mind. Now, okay, so that's pretty much cover everything. I mean, this is really good with the grenade loadout. You see that you get a lot more grenades using this, so I just like to put it in there when I have points for it. I mean, I can't really go in mods. I mean, as far as mod goes, you really want to just, I'll not say avoid it, but you don't really need them, you know. You don't really need them. You want to diversify it as the best. I don't mean diversify in the sense of just doing it for doing it, but diversify in a sense that benefits the synergy of your loadout. That's my point. Diversify in a way that benefits the synergy of your loadout as best as possible, so we can dominate on every single situation. So you won't, because I mean, you can be good, but if you don't have the right weapon for the right situation, then you're actually, you know, you have bad odds. You're giving yourself bad odds, so you actually should lose. So you don't want to do that. You want to have the best odds as possible every time. That's why you need to have a synergy in your class, and also, you know, cover as much things as possible. So just a quick recap again: if you're using only 2 weapons, try to cover as best as maybe you're gonna need at least one that's kind of goes both ways. Doesn't have to be necessarily both ways, as in short and mid range. It can be mid, long range, whatever. Maybe the FAL, for example, the FAL, that would cover mid range, long range, and maybe you have to change this to something that's good close range. You know what I mean? So let me just go a quick overview so you know what you're doing. Now, the AK is like the a better, longer range version of the let me see, what is it? The HS. That's pretty much the only difference. This is a higher fire rate for less range. This is a higher range for less fire rate. That's it. So a really small difference. You're almost not going to notice. I mean, long ranges, if you put 2 players, one with the AK and one with the HS, it will comes down to the range pretty much. A longer range, the guy that's using the AK is going to win. At close range, the guy that's using the HS is going to win. So that's the only diff. Just keep in mind the characteristics of these weapons. That's the difference. They are both, you know, good mid-range. This is goes a bit further because of the good range it has. Now the FAL is mid to long range. This is long range, obviously. This is, again, my opinion, best SMG in the game because it's the best overall, and it has the best base blind fire, so you don't have to use a mod on it to actually be effective. Mantler, it's a mid to long range. This is a close range, just like this one, but again, I mean, it's good to get headshots because of the recoil, but this is just my opinion, it's better. Copperhead, I mean, it says long range, but I think this is really a mid-range weapon. Long range is really only effective if you can get headshots, if you're good at getting the headshots. So let's just say it can be used long range, but you have to actually, you know, get headshots. Keep that in mind. If you're not getting headshots, it's not going to be effective at all. So it's more like a mid-range only weapon. This is, I don't even know what to say about it. Close range. I mean, who uses this? So which is long range, obviously. This is close range. I mean, blind fire is shit. Has a good clip, but a very slow reload. I mean, again, not the best SMG in my opinion. It's really only stands out because of the fire rate. So maybe in a close range 1v1, this would win only because of the fire rate. But besides that, it loses to every other weapon. So I mean, this is like the what other weapon looks like this? I think like the HS in a way. The arrowhead. I don't really like it because one thing you also have to keep in mind: the best weapons, or the most competitive ones, are the weapons that have the highest headshot multipliers. Same thing goes for the pistols. I mean, because the headshot multiplier, it's what's going to make the most difference in a gunfight. Because I mean, you get one headshot, it's worth 3 bullets that the other guy is gonna have on you, so you can kill him a lot faster. Now, if you don't know, the weapons with highest multiplier are the AK, the FAL, the Mantler, and the HS also has a high headshot multiplier. And the Copperhead also has a high headshot multiplier. And the others are just too average. There's no real difference on the headshot multiplier. It's just average. Just average. No advantage in it. Now I'm just going to point out the weapons that actually make a difference. That's easier. So this has a good headshot multiplier. I mean, what defines a good headshot multiplier is that is 2 times or more the damage. That's what makes a good headshot multiplier. If it's less than two times, then it's not worth it, which is the case of most of the weapons. Now this is a good headshot multiplier. 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 And this is a good, and this is good as well. So those are the weapons that are very good. I mean, they're automatic. They have a useful or a high headshot multiplier. The other ones are like average, you know. Not bad, but not good. It's not gonna make a difference. So these can be more effective. That's my point. I mean, but again, keep in mind best SMG option. Now that's pretty much it. So this is mid range to long range. Long range. Already covered this. Short range. This is like mid range to long range maybe. Recoil is too bad, so it's not really that long range. Mid range is okay, but again, it doesn't have a high headshot multiplier, so it's like an average weapon, you know. You're not going to really stand out using it. That's my point. This is another version of the Type 95 with pretty much a worse recoil in my opinion. I think the Type has a better it's the same weapon pretty much, but this has a better recoil. That's the only difference between these two, is the recoil. But like damage range is kind of all the same. It's mid-range at best. Long range, you're kind of pushing it. I mean, this weapon is too slow. I don't recommend use it at all, but it's very powerful. I mean, when I say don't use it at all, it's because it's just not competitive, you know. You're not gonna do well with it most of the time. This is again just an average. It has a high fire rate, but it's an average weapon. So again, you're not going to stand out using it, especially on ranked, very competitive gameplay. Not going to stand out. That's why you don't see the best players using it. I mean, what is this? You know, I already explained about this. Close, good close range, good mid range. This is good mid range. Pushing it long range, bad close range. Now for the pistols, I mean, excellent long range and also can be good at mid range, very bad at close range. This is good on close range, mid range is pushing it already. This is good at close range, mid range pushing it. This can be good at close range and mid range. Long range can be used, but again, is already pushing it for a pistol. This is good mid to long range, more like, yeah, mid to long range. This is good mid range, and if you're using the blind fire, it can be really good. If you're using the blind fire mod, it can be really good close range. I mean, with the blind fire, obviously. Now this is good close range only. This is long range. This is, I mean, this is the worst pistol in the game. Don't use it. This is close range, obviously. This is close range, very close range. This is mid to long range. This is the pistol version of the FAL. This is like an overall. It's good at, yeah, this is the best overall by far. It's good mid-range, good long range, and good, you know, average blind fire. So everything is just average, really good. The best overall for sure. Works everywhere. Works everywhere. Even long range you can use this weapon. Works everywhere. Overall, best overall. This is like the cheaper one. If you don't want to spend any loadout points, this is the weapon to go to. But keep in mind, it's only good at close range. It's only effective at close range. So I mean, that pretty much covers everything. If you guys want to make, I don't know, I mean, just want to remind you again, check the previous guides. So, and also check the my gameplays that I put off, ranked gameplay, blender gameplay, so you can actually, you know, see what I teach you being done in practice, not just listen to it in theory. That's the reason why I have the gameplay there, so you can actually see me doing what I'm telling you to do, and how well it works, you know. So that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, if you wanna have any suggestions for something, another future guide that you personally want, just, you know, leave it in the comments and I'll make it in the future. That's it. See you later, guys.